The first day of the high-level discussions of the G77 and China Summits concluded in Havana, which focused on the progress towards a united approach of the countries of the Global South. More details with our correspondent, Gladys Quesada.
This September 15th, Havana gathered the leaders of the Global South as leaders of underdeveloped countries as well as of nations that do not abide by the hegemonic rules look for consensus, tactics, and strategies with the purpose of outlining a guide for the action of the countries of the South and enhance South-South cooperation under the banner of technology, science, and innovation. The day began with the official welcoming ceremony by the host President Miguel Díaz-Canel to representatives of the over 130 countries attending the summit.
The peoples of the South are the ones that have more poverty, hunger, misery, death for curable diseases, illiteracy, human displacements, and other consequences of underdevelopment. Many of our nations are called poor when in fact they should be called impoverished nations. And we have to revert that condition in which we have been stuck as a result of colonial centuries of dependence, because the South can no longer cope with these unfortunate issues. Those who raise cities out of the blood and sweat of the nations of the South are suffering already, and they will suffer more in the future, the consequence of economic imbalances that were the result of plunder. We are traveling on the same boat, although some are VIP passengers and others are their servants.
In his speech, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres referred to the centuries of injustice and neglect of the countries of the South.
Richer countries awarded COVID vaccines while the pandemic ran rampant in the Global South. E quiero aprovechar este momento para felicitar.
And I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate Cuba for the successful development in the vaccines. Vaccines have been used not only in the people of Cuba, but also Cuba have been generous enough to use these vaccines in other peoples which were victims of inequality to international access to the vaccines.
For his part, Xi Liu, the representative of China, stressed the importance of rethinking the global dynamics and assured that China will always be a friend of the Global South and the G77.
We must call on the entire international community to place development front and center on the international agenda, and we must urge developed countries to deliver on their development assistance commitments. We must strengthen the voice and representation of developing countries in global governance based on the principles of extensive consultation, joint contribution, and shared benefits.
Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro Moros called for a higher level of practical cooperation in science and technology. The 21st century, he said, must be the century of the countries of the South.
This is our house. This is our family. This is a space where we are all equal, where nobody tries to impose or nominate or plunder or exclude anybody or humiliate. This is a great big African, Asian, Latin American, Caribbean family. The South countries. The G77 will be celebrating its 60th anniversary, and later on the fact that China joined us. Next year we will have the summit in Uganda. We wish Uganda all success in the holding of that significant summit.
And the Prime Minister of Barbados emphasized education as a tool to face the challenges of the future and said that commitments are empty promises if there is no real action.
There is no doubt, my friends, that the world in which we live is experiencing unprecedented crises, multiple. And it has done so at a time when mankind has attained more scientific, engineering, and technological progress than at any other time in history. The difficulty is that, like with all else, inventions can be used either for noble causes or wicked purposes. This means two things. First, our awareness and alertness must be constant. And secondly, it does matter, as we heard from my dear brother Prime Minister Gonzalez this morning, who owns and who controls the technology. So why must we be alert now? Because, like many other temptations from time immemorial, our reliance on things that allow us great convenience and happiness cause us to be easy prey. Easy prey if we do not remember our purpose and our mission.
Until this September 16th, the more than 100 high-level delegations participated in the summit of the Group of 77 and China in Havana will be debating to approve a final declaration already agreed upon and described as progressive and as of universal character, with a positive and constructive tone firmly attached to the defense of the right to the development. Gladys Quesada, teleSUR English, Havana.